Our last stop of the day was with Eileen O'Shea. Although she was a little hesitant at first, Eileen's stories had us both intrigued and amazed. We could have stayed and talked to her all day.
So we're talking to Eileen today, O'Shea.
Video.
Yeah, and so how long have you lived at Spring Valley for?
I've been here 54 years. I come here as the domestic for Jim's grandmother back, in 1960. I must have been here, I forget it, 62, 61. Yeah. And I was supposed to just help look after her, and I done the cleaning and the cooking for the station. And there was about 30 people here at that time.
30?
Yep, 30. Yeah, wow. At that time, yeah, because they had, there was 4 families, Jim's sisters and their husbands, and then his mum and dad, and they had a rouseabout, and Jim's mum had her uncle, her brother it was, so it was Jim's uncle, that stayed here too, so.
Wow.
I was cooking for about 25 to 30 nearly every day.
So did you sort of cook whatever you planned or wanted to, or did someone else organise?
No, I planned whatever. We'd have breakfast, and breakfast was always a hot meal of you had steak and eggs, or no bacon. There was no bacon because we never wasn't able to get, or probably you could, but we never ever got bacon. Yeah, there'd be steak and eggs, or there'd be leftover stew from the night before on toast, or you had fritters, made corned meat fritters. That'd be your breakfast, and then you'd have your morning tea, and then there used to be scones or puffed balloons. I don't know if you know what puffed balloons are.
Yeah. Great grandfather, yes.
Yeah, he did that. Yeah. When we had our centenary back here in 2003, I decided I'd have puffed balloons going back into the older days, and hardly anyone knew what a puffed balloon was.
Would you like to explain it to us?
Well, all it is like a batter. It's flour and water, or flour and milk, like you make a damper. But then you have very hot fat, and as I said, we used dripping back in those days. You didn't have your cooking oil, and you just mix the flour and milk together. That's all it is. And then get a ladle or a big spoon and just ladle it into the boiling fat and cook it, and they come up they puff right up. And then when they're cooked, you cut them in halves, and you put butter and syrup or jam or whatever you want in them. But we always had syrup because everyone seemed to like the syrup.
So breakfast was quite a
job. Breakfast was a big meal. Then you had your morning tea, and then there was always a hot lunch, which you'd put a roast in the oven on the wood stove. It was all, and then had to cut the wood. We had this great big wood stove, so it'd either be a roast, or again you could have corned meat if you wanted to. And then we always ate potatoes. Potatoes were eaten twice a day, every day, no matter what you did. And pumpkin mainly, which was the old, what did they call them? Queensland blue pumpkins. They're the really hard skin ones, are very hard to cut. Yeah. And then your white sauce and onion, or white sauce and carrot, and and then tea. You'd have soup. You'd put on your meat soup earlier, like in the morning, and then add your vegetables, like you had your soup bones. We always had that every night. And then we'd have another main meal, and then we'd have a sweet. So it was quite full on. So we didn't eat healthy, that's what I'm saying.
But maybe the physical work was maybe harder.
It was, yeah, definitely. And for the females it was too. You had no vacuum cleaners, you had to wash with a copper boiler. We even got down on our hands and knees and scrubbed their trousers that they used to wear, because you couldn't get them clean unless you got a scrubbing brush. And as I said, even your floors and that, you'd get down on your hands and knees with the wax to polish your floors. It was much more, you use much more energy than what you do today.
Yeah. So with your corned beef, did you have dry salted corned beef?
We had dry salted corned meat back in those days, yeah. They had kill the beast and then cut their corned meat up and just rub the dry salt in it and leave it up on a meat board up in the butcher shop, and then you'd bring it down from up there and then you'd soak it in some water and vinegar, and then after that you'd put it on to boil with a bit more vinegar in it. And that's the way it was, yeah.
Was it green very often? Because I hear stories from my granddad that sometimes it might be green.
Well, your corned meat, because it was dry salted, was never ever green, but you had kerosene fridges for keeping your fresh meat in, and your fresh meat often went green. So you'd have to cut all the green bits off the sides of your fresh meat before you cooked it. Never killed anyone.
No. Did you ever wash that in vinegar as well? Or
no. You could have done, I suppose, but no, I never ever did. I just cut the outsides off and cooked it.
Okay,
that was with your steak, your roast, and
So the men would have camped out, of course, then?
They were never home.
Yeah.
No, they camped out for 9 months of the year. They'd be home about 3 months a year. That's about all you'd see them.
And did you have to cook to send food out to them, or did they have a camp cook?
No, they didn't have a camp cook. I'd make like a big plum pudding for them for their sweets. I had my great-grandmother's recipe for a plum pudding that she used to do in a cloth. Instead of a fruit cake, they preferred the plum pudding. Yeah, and they used to take that. And you'd make Anzac biscuits. They used to like the Anzac biscuits. They couldn't take a lot when Jim and I were first married because they had pack horses and you had pack saddles, and they could only take what amount of food could fit in the pack saddles. And on the old mule. And then the old mule would get down and roll and half your food would be gone anyway. They mainly lived on damper, I suppose. They'd take bread, but it didn't last very long. And then you'd take your butter in, they used to put it in little sunshine milk cans. Take it that way. But it'd melt too, you'd have to keep it in cool water. They lived very hard, the men, because they'd be out mustering all day and then they'd come home and I think they used to put their corned meat on of a morning while they got their horses and that together and half cook it, then finish cooking it overnight and add your potato and pumpkin, and they used to take a bit of cabbage back in those days too. But,
So where was your nearest shop to buy your groceries?
Well, the nearest store was Jack and Newell's in Chilligo, but it used to take you about 3 hours to get to Chilligo in those days.
And how long does it take you now?
About 25 minutes. So there's a big difference. Where the store is today, in Chilligo, that was where the store was. That's where it's been all the years. But it was Jack and Newell's there.
So how often would you go to Chilligo to get groceries?
Never. We never went up there to get groceries. We had a train that used to go up Mondays, come back down again Tuesdays. You'd ring your order through to who was Bobby Todd, the manager up there in Chilligo at the time. They'd make your order up for you and send it down on the train. Like you'd ring Monday, they'd send it down on the train Tuesday. And that'd be, once a week we used to do that. But there's no fresh food, hardly ever fresh fruit or vegetables. And our bread come from the Dimbula bakery.
From Fernanda? Rostarola maybe?
Yeah, she was, but she wasn't the very first baker. And I can't think of the name of the bakers that were there. Orally, she's been in Dimbula all those years too. They had the baker's shop down there then. And we'd get 40 loaves of bread a week sent up on the train. And that was for the whole lot, And it was unsliced. You'd have to slice it yourself. Never ever had sliced bread back in those days either.
So you obviously killed all your own meat then?
Yes, they did. Yeah, they ran a butcher shop here at Spring Valley. Jim's dad, back in the early 1940s, I think it was. And they used to take the meat from here into the train, and it used to go up to Forsyth, Chilligo, and when they met the down train, it used to go to Lappa and Cabora, to all the Fettlers and that on the railway line. They all bought their meat from the butcher shop here at Spring Valley.
So who did the slaughtering sort of back then? The family, the
Yeah,
brothers? Or,
yeah, Jim's dad, and yeah, he had two brothers, but one had died, so there was only one other brother helping them. And the old lady, her grandma O'Shea.
So it was obviously a fairly hard life for the women as well.
Yeah, well, Jim's grandmother, she started this place back in 1903. And she rode side saddle. I reckon she was a wonderful old lady because she went and took up all these different blocks on Spring Valley, and she did it all by riding side saddle. And I mean, this country is rough. There's a lot of rough country here. And when you go over it in a vehicle now, you'll wonder how she ever got over there in a horse with a long skirt on a side saddle. Yeah. She must have been a wonderful horse person. Yeah, a really tough lady.
Yeah. So, and situations like this are usually fairly isolated socially for women too. They don't often see a lot of other women. What was it like here?
Well, this place has always been fairly busy. This place has never been never been isolated, has it, Jim? I think you see more people out here than you actually do in at the hotel at Almaden.
Yeah.
There's always someone coming or going. Yeah. She always had people calling in and always had tea. This place has been known for tea over all the years, having cups of tea. Yeah, nobody went through without having a cup of tea.
So a cup of tea and smoko is probably one of the most important times of the day, especially socially.
It is, yeah. Morning tea or afternoon tea, yeah. They've done that over all the years and we're still doing it.
So you have a teapot?
Yes.
How long have you had your teapot for?
We were just saying that I had friends here this morning, as I said before you come, and she said, "Oh, where'd you get your teapot from, Eileen?" And I said, "Oh, from Jack and Newell's when it closed down." That was my last teapot, and that one behind you with the pot plant in it, that old silver one down there, that used to be our teapot back in, when I first come here.
Okay.
So that was a teapot, and as I said, we had kettles. No, we didn't have power here until 39 years ago. We got the power put on here. Yeah. And then you had the wood stove, the copper boiler.
So over the different times that you've cooked and worked in, what's probably your most favourite or your most useful tool or utensil that you've used?
Yeah, I heard you said that one before. I don't really know.
No? You don't have a favourite?
I don't have a favourite, no.
Do you have a favourite wooden spoon or old spoon that you mix things with?
Well,
all the time?
I just used to use Jim's mother's utensils and that she had, and I've still got a lot of them.
You still use some of them?
Yeah, to make my scones, I've still got her scone tray. I wouldn't part with it. It's that old and dented, but it still turns out beautiful scones.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And what sort of stove do you use now?
I've got a gas stove now. I've had a gas stove now for about 30 years, I suppose. Yeah. I still had the old wooden stove when we got the power on, but I got rid of it and got a gas stove now.
Oh,
I find it more convenient.
So you still do most of your own cooking?
I do all. There's only Jim and I now, so yeah, I still do all the cooking.
And what's your favourite sweet to make?
Well, I like to make a baked custard. that'd be one of the favourites and one of the most popular ones. And a sponge cake is
Sponge
mine.
cake.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to test the sponge cake one day.
Yeah, but I make, I specialise in sponge cakes and scones and baked custard, I'd say.
Lovely.
Would be my favourites.
Lovely. Well, thank you for talking to us today.
That's okay.
And we hope to see you at Chilligo for Country Kitchens.
That'll be good.
Thanks.
Thank you. Hope that turned out okay.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great.
Wonderful.